Have you ever felt invisible, underestimated, or had your dreams ridiculed? Get ready to meet Lúcia, the country girl who defied the imposing glass towers of São Paulo, not with impeccable suits, but with an old canvas jacket and a heart that beat to the rhythm of authenticity. Imagine the biting silence of a marble lobby, where every glance is a sentence for a country girl. She felt firsthand the scorn, the muffled laughter, the humiliation of being treated like a nobody. But what they didn't know was that behind that simplicity pulsed a brilliant mind and unwavering determination. Lúcia's story is a punch to the gut of Prejudice, a visceral reminder that true power isn't in appearance, but in essence. Are you ready to witness the most epic comeback in the corporate world? Buckle up, because this journey will grip you from the first to the last second, and make you question everything you think about success and respect. Lúcia took a deep breath, the fresh morning air of snow rock filling her lungs before the taxi took her to the heart of São Paulo. The colossal city rose before her, a tangle of skyscrapers that seemed to touch the sky. Two of them, imposing glass towers that mirrored the rising sun, were her destination. Lúcia's heart leaped, a mix of excitement and apprehension. She clutched tighter the strap of her old canvas jacket. A faithful companion since her childhood days in the interior of Minas Gerais, where she was born, and took another deep breath. Her first day as executive director of one of the country's largest corporations began there, and the country girl was about to rewrite the rules of the game. Lúcia's eyes swept across the immense polished marble lobby, as cold and impersonal as a modern mausoleum. Men and women in impeccable suits glided with an elegance that made her feel like a speck of dust at a fancy ball. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the nerves dancing in her stomach, as curious glances fixed on her. They were looks that ranged from surprise to disdain, as if she were a miscalculation, a piece that didn't fit into that corporate chessboard, where every move was calculated and every piece was worth its weight in gold. An almost imperceptible murmur spread, like a chilly breeze, blowing through the corners of the lobby. Lúcia felt her face flush to her neck, the heat of shame rising. "Country girl," she thought, the phrase echoing in her mind like an invisible stamp of inferiority. She's humiliated on her first day of work, but no one expected her to be the new director. What they didn't know was that worn jacket and flushed face hid a sharp mind and an iron determination. On the executive floor, the air was even heavier, laden with the invisible tension of high performance and silent competition. Modern meeting rooms with glass walls revealed mirrored tables and designer chairs, where decisions impacting thousands of lives were made behind closed doors. The cafeteria, with its almost monastic silence, seemed like a temple where conversations were whispers and glances were measured, each person evaluating the other in a subtle power play. Lúcia knew that the company was a universe apart, a cosmos of unwritten rules and invisible hierarchy. She had prepared herself for the complexity of business, for strategic challenges and dizzying numbers, but not for the veiled hostility that greeted her. It was as if every glance and every whisper were tiny thorns, piercing her confidence, trying to undermine her strength. It was then that the figure of Sergio Mendonça appeared, an imposing and arrogant presence. Head of HR, he was known for his sharp tongue, a verbal scalpel that dissected and scorned anyone who didn't fit the company's rigorous and often elitist standards. With a cynical smile that barely reached his cold eyes, he approached, exuding an aura of superiority. "You're Lúcia, right?" he asked, with a tone that turned the question into a mocking affirmation. "Almostajaib, Sergio Mendonça," he introduced himself, extending his hand for a loose, almost dismissive shake, as if Lúcia were an undesirable residue in his hands. Lúcia extended her hand, which trembled slightly, a frisson of anxiety running through her body. That lukewarm, indifferent handshake seemed to confirm her feeling of being an intruder, a puzzle piece that didn't find its place. Sergio, without even disguising the gleam of satisfaction in his eyes, pointed to the corner of the office, where a pile of documents waited, like a mountain to be climbed. "Well, Lúcia, your initial tasks will be to make copies and organize files. The machine is over there. Do you need help? It looks like it suits a hoe better than office machines." A stifled laugh echoed among the few passing employees, silent accomplices to the humiliation. Shame burned within Lúcia. a living ember in her chest, but she refused to give Sergio the satisfaction of a reaction. Troa, tight. She just nodded, a nod of dignity amidst the pain, and headed for the printer, feeling the weight of their gazes on her back, each one a sharp jab. The days dragged on in a routine of repetitive tasks, each one a cruel reminder of her supposed insignificance. Lucia retrieved documents from the printer, organized folders, responded to trivial emails that seemed tailor-made to test her patience. She overheard whispers, muffled laughter, the subtle mockery in others' conversations. Let's see how long she lasts here, she heard a colleague say in an almost inaudible tone, but one that resonated loudly in her soul. She was the country girl, the newcomer who didn't fit in, the inside joke that livened up corporate boredom. But Lucia stood firm, remembering her friend Paula's words, which she reread every day in a text message. How are you doing there? Remember, you're smarter than all of them put together. Don't let them fool you. These words were her mantra, her shield, against the torrent of prejudice. She remembered the smell of wet earth after the rain, the silence of starry nights in the countryside, the strength of her mother who never bowed to difficulties. Each humiliating task was a step, each disdainful look, a motivation. The climax of the humiliation came mid-week, a blow that seemed final. Sergio called her into his office, with an even wider smile than usual, a harbinger of cruelty. Luta, please prepare the coffee for the board meeting. And do us all a favor. Try not to spill it. We don't want a rural disaster first thing in the morning. The room was full of curious glances, hungry for a reaction, awaiting her collapse. The knot in her stomach kept her from responding. Her voice caught in her throat like a choked scream. She just nodded, picked up the tray, her hands steady despite the pain, and headed to the pantry, her dignity intact, but her heart in pieces. Every step was an effort, every breath a challenge. In the meeting room, the atmosphere was tense, the air heavy with the anticipation of high-stakes business discussions. Lucia served the coffee, her hands steady, not a drop out of place, an act of silent resistance. Sergio, as expected, didn't miss the opportunity. Lucia, since you're a rural expert, perhaps you could give us a perspective on how seasonality affects our sales. Or maybe a tip on how to grow strawberries in the office? Laughter echoed, cold and sharp, and Lucia felt her face burn, blood pulsing in her temples. But instead of backing down, a different spark ignited in her eyes, a fire that came from her soul forged in the interior. She took a deep breath, and with surprising calm, said, "Actually, Mr. Mendonca, I have something a bit more relevant to present." With a move that caught everyone by surprise, Lúcia connected her own device to the room's projector. The large screen, previously showing Sergio's generic presentation graphics, now displayed a completely different slide. Complex graphs, detailed market data, bold and innovative growth projections. The buzz in the room abruptly ceased, replaced by stunned silence. "Allow me, directors, a brief analysis." Lucia's voice, previously a whisper stifled by humiliation, was now firm and articulate, resonating with authority and knowledge. "Observe these projections. Our current digital strategy, while effective in parts, ignores a considerable portion of the market that seeks authenticity. I have studied public reports, industry research, and even some interviews with our target audience that point to a significant gap." She continued, gliding through slides with impressive fluidity, each word laden with conviction. "Global trends indicate that today's consumer seeks not just products, but stories, connection, trust, and our online presence, while robust, lacks this depth. I suggest an action plan based on content campaigns that value the process, the origin, the humanity behind what we do. A focus on creating value through narrative, not just sales." She presented concrete data on engagement, customer retention, and loyalty, all connected to the idea of more genuine and empathetic communication. "I'm not seeking authority, Mr. Mendonca. I'm presenting facts. she concluded, looking directly at Sergio, who was pale, his face contorted in a mask of shock and fury. The room remained silent for a moment, before being broken by applause, which started timidly and soon spread. Like wildfire, Director Beatriz Nogueira, a respected figure in the company, stood up, her eyes fixed on Lúcia with admiration. "Lúcia, your knowledge and vision are impressive. I never imagined anyone had such depth of analysis on the subject. Please schedule a time with me to discuss this proposal more calmly." The room erupted in supportive comments, and Sergio, for his part, was visibly disconcerted, his face a mix of shock, fury, and the beginning of deep fear. After the applause and supportive comments, Lúcia turned to the team, a calm and serene smile on her face. With a voice that filled the room, laden with quiet authority, she formally introduced herself. "My name is Lúcia Ribeiro, and today I have officially been named executive director of this company." The silence in the room was deafening, employees exchanging surprised glances. Sergio's jaw dropped, his face completely drained of color. She continued, her voice even firmer. "The jacket I'm wearing today, my apparent simplicity, was a conscious test. I chose to start my day as an ordinary employee to observe this company's culture, to understand how you treat those who, in some way, don't fit expected standards." Lucia's eyes swept across the room, pausing for an instant on each face, before fixing on Sergio, a look of compassion mixed with firmness. "A person's true value is not in their appearance, nor in their origin. It is in their character, their effort, and their integrity." It was then that Director Beatriz Nogueira intervened, her voice sharp as a keen blade, without a trace of hesitation. "Sérgio Mendonça, the board has been informed about your conduct and the human resources practices under your supervision. Your attitude towards Lúcia today, and on other occasions, is unacceptable. You are temporarily suspended from your duties until an internal investigation is concluded." The shock in the room was palpable, a silence that weighed heavily. Sergio tried to stammer something, but was interrupted by Beatriz, who gestured for him to leave, the humiliation visible on his now defeated face. In the days that followed, Sergio sought out Lúcia. His face, once marked by arrogance, now expressed a mix of regret and embarrassment. His shoulders slumped by the weight of his mistakes. "Lúcia," he began, his voice choked with emotion. I'm so sorry. I was a complete idiot. My prejudices blinded me." Lúcia looked at him, without the glint of satisfaction that Sergio had displayed days before, just a quiet understanding. "Acknowledging the error is the first step. Mr. Mendonça, it's not an easy path, but it's the only one worth following." She accepted his apologies, not as a sign of weakness, but of an inner strength that allowed her to forgive, transforming pain into a lesson. The office, which once seemed like a silent battlefield, underwent a visible change. The muffled laughter gave way to open and constructive conversations. The looks of disdain transformed into curiosity, a willingness to learn and listen. Lúcia implemented conversation forums, mentoring sessions, and group projects that celebrated the diversity of profiles and experiences. The environment, once suffocating, now breathed collaboration, innovation, and, above all, respect. In one of her first meetings as director, Lúcia gathered the team, her eyes shining with a passion for a better future. "Each of you, with your origins, your stories, your peculiarities, is fundamental to the success of this company. Challenging prejudice is a daily act, a constant choice. Building a culture of true respect is a process, and it begins here, with of US." She emphasized that appearance and origin do not define a person's capability. Lúcia's story, the country girl, became a living example that someone's value is not in what they show on the outside, but in what they carry within. Intelligence, character, resilience. She became the respected and admired leader, and the company's environment transformed from a culture of judgment to one of respect, collaboration, and empathy. The country girl who turned the tables. A lesson in overcoming and respect. Lúcia's story is a powerful reminder that true strength lies in the ability to overcome adversity. to maintain integrity in the face of prejudice, and to transform pain into a catalyst for change. Her journey teaches us that empathy and respect are the foundations for any truly prosperous environment, whether corporate or personal. If Lucia's journey inspired you, and you believe that every voice matters, I have an invitation for you. Take advantage and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our stories of overcoming and transformation. Share your story in the comments of how you overcame a challenge or prejudice. Your experience can inspire many other people. And if you believe in respect and transformation, subscribe to the channel now. Here, every voice matters. And together we can build a more just and empathetic world. What other stories of overcoming do you know that could inspire our community?